In this video we'll be taking a look at the Wii U and its homebrew scene. We'll be installing the most latest custom firmware for this called Aroma, and also use DNS Expresso to exploit the Wii U. This is a step-by-step guide to show you the process of this, what you need, and also how to protect your Wii U from future updates and prevent it from bricking itself. I'll also show you how to back up your Wii U games and install it onto the NAND without using the disk. This method works on the latest update, which is 5.5.6 for the US and 5.5.5 for the EU. So be sure to update your Wii U if you haven't used it for a while. So to start this off, let's go ahead and get all the files that you need and extract it all onto the SD card. So dust off your Wii U. Let's go ahead and bring this back to life and experience the fun in the Wii U just like the good old days. So what you need for this guide is a SD card that's at least 32 gigs or 64 gigs. It could be micro or normal size SD card. You also need a adapter or some kind of card reader. I'm just using a 3.0 USB stick here. The Wii U itself, as well as a PC that will read the USB stick SD card, so we can transfer all the files that we need for this hack. We need the internet as well, and that's just the main things really. So onto the PC, I'm going to show you all the links needed for this hack. The first step is to prepare our SD card. So insert it into your PC. Go ahead and check out this website here. Download GUI Formatter. We need to format this SD card to FAT32. So go ahead and load up the program, insert your SD card, and if you are having issues formatting the SD card, if it's coming up saying it's being used on a different program, then what you need to do is check whether there's a partition on the USB stick. So go onto the start button and try and locate disk management. Once you're in disk management, you can see if there's any partitions on the USB stick. Now we need to find command prompt. So right click and search for command prompt using CMD under the search bar. Open it up and type in the word disk part. Once disk part is loaded, type in lisk disk, and this will show all your hard drives. You want to select the correct one. You don't want to mess this up, else you'll delete your operating system. So in my case, I'm choosing disk 1, and it shows me how many gigabytes it has. Once you have selected the correct disk, then just type in clean, and this will wipe the entire drive, so there shouldn't be any partitions. And then now I'm just going to format it normally like I would do with any other drive. Reload GUI Formatter and choose the correct drive. Select the allocation unit size to 32. Don't name this as Wii U because this might have a problem in the future. Just keep it as blank. Click start, and now this will format the SD card. Next we want to go on to the official Aroma custom firmware webpage. So Aroma is essentially Tiramisu, but it's more up to date and is much faster than Tiramisu. Although this currently is still in beta mode and there are some apps that don't work. One of the main ones is RetroArch. So with Aroma currently there isn't any RetroArch support. Be warned, if you do use this custom firmware, you won't be able to use that. You can stick to Tiramisu if you want to use RetroArch. With Aroma you can use Pretendo, which is sort of like online capabilities for the Wii U. You can use a Nintendo account to play all your games online. So that's one of the biggest upsides to using Aroma. And in the future, I'm sure they'll be able to patch everything up and get everything up and running to be able to use with Aroma. But that will be in the distant future, I would say. You can read up more about this on the website. Aroma does have more capabilities than Tiramisu. Tiramisu now is outdated and will not be supported anymore. So scroll down until you see downloads and just check mark all of the boxes. So the page should expand and show you all the payloads. It should automatically be ticked, so just click download payloads and then download base Aroma. Once you've done that, you should see some additional plugins and modules, and you can actually pre-download these now So we got like Blue Pair, which will make you be able to use Bluetooth controllers like your PS4 or Xbox controllers. We got FTP Wii U, which gives you the capabilities to transfer all your files via the network through FileZilla or something like that. You don't have to download these now, you can actually do this later on once we've got our custom firmware installed. But plugins are basically just kind of software within the custom firmware and modifications. So once you've got Payloads and Aroma downloaded, we need to go on to Payload Installer. Go onto the GitHub page and under Assets, click on the Payload Installer zip file. Same thing with SIG patches, we need to download the RPX file. Do the same with Payload RPX. Wii U App Store, which is the Homebrew app. We need to scroll down until you see Assets, and this time we need to download the appstore.wub. And lastly, we need to download UFDyn. So go ahead and go into Assets and download UFDyn.zip, and this will block any updates, prevent the Wii U from bricking itself. So that's all the files that we need. Now we just need to extract all of them and put some of the files into the correct folders onto our SD card. On the right side I have my SD card loaded and there's nothing on there. On the left side here we have all of the files that we downloaded earlier, and all the ones that have a zip folder, I'm just going to select all of them and extract all of them all at once. And if it says that it needs to overwrite one of the files, then just overwrite it. Once all the files have been extracted, you should get a folder that says Wii U. Copy that folder onto the root of your SD card. Grab the sigpatches.rpx file, and we want to copy that into the Wii U folder, and then environments, click on Aroma, find the folder that says modules, and setup. In setup, just copy the file into that folder. Those SIG patches should be inside of the setup folder. Now go back onto the Wii U folder and find a file that says root.rpx. Copy that file, and we want to put it onto our root of the SD card. Next we want to rename this RPX file to launch instead of root. So just change the name, launch, all in lowercase. And now we want to locate the appstore.wub, so copy that file, and we want to paste the wub into our apps folder in Wii U. So we have all of our files ready to go. Now let's remove the SD card and put it inside of your Wii U. If you are using a SD card adapter like myself, then make sure the tab is not set to lock. Once everything has been loaded, go on to System Settings, click on Internet, connect to the internet. If you're using Wi-Fi, then it will search for your Wi-Fi name and just connect using your password. If you're using a wired connection, then you need to click on Connection Types or press Y. So once you have connected to the internet, go back onto Connect to the Internet, click on Connections or press X. Mine has been saved under Connection 4, so I'm going to click on that and then change settings. Scroll to the right until you see DNS. Choose Do Not Auto Obtain. Choose Primary DNS, and we want to change the value of this. Change this to 85.215.57.182. Press OK and hit confirm. So these are the settings that currently work as of July 2024. These values might change in the future. Hit save once you're happy with that, and then it will ask you to do a connection test. While the test is running, hold B, and this should load the DNS Expresso. It will freeze just for a moment and then load DNS Expresso. We can let go of B and choose NAND dumper, and from here we have the option to save our entire Wii U files and saves and stuff. So if you experience some issues along the way in the future, if your Wii U ends up getting bricked, we can have all of our files backed up and saved onto our computer and revert it back to its original state. By default, everything has been checked apart from MLC. MLC is your Wii storage, so this could be quite large depending on if you have a white Wii U or a black Wii U. It is suggested to use at least 32 minimum, but if you don't have a big enough SD card, you can uncheck this. Just click A to continue. Now this process may take a while depending on how much you got saved onto your Wii U. The last time I done this took about an hour or so, 40 minutes. So we can leave this running and come back when it's done. Once completed, it will restart your console. Make sure to turn off the Wii U before ejecting the SD card and insert it back onto your PC. So as you can see here, we have all of our backup files saved onto the root of our SD card. So we can copy all of these files apart from the launch.rpx file. Create a new folder on your PC, somewhere where you won't forget the backup files are. I'm just calling my folder Wii U White Backup NAND files. And then paste all of the files into that folder. And there we go, pretty simple. That's our Wii U backed up just in case it gets bricked. You can now delete all of those files if you want to save space on the SD card. Back onto the Wii U with our SD card inside of it. The next step is to make sure that the Aroma custom firmware is permanently installed. So right now we're still currently on stock firmware. So what we need to do is go back onto our system settings and relaunch DNS Expresso. So click on system and go back onto the internet settings. Connect to the internet. Choose the default connection that you made earlier. Click on connections, connection test. Let it do the connection test, but don't press anything this time. And this should freeze like it did before, and it should load it into the environment loader. You should see a blue screen like this, and you'll be able to choose Aroma as the launcher. Press Y to set the default and highlight Aroma, and then press A to launch. You'll get a warning message that looks like this, and this basically just says that the update folder currently exists and you might not be able to block updates properly. But do not worry, we'll be able to fix this issue later on. For now, just click A to continue. You'll get a screen that says boot selector, and just click Y to highlight the Wii U menu. So this will load like it would normally, but this should load into Aroma. The easiest way to tell that you're on custom firmware is that the apps that you loaded onto the SD card will show up on the Wii U menu. So the next step is to make sure the Wii U permanently boots to Aroma after every restart, because right now if you turn off your Wii U and turn it back on, it will just run on stock firmware and you have to redo the exploit again. But we're going to fix that issue by loading up Payload Loader Installer. So locate that on your Wii U menu and press A. Using the D-pad, select A on check, and then we're just going to press A on install-update. So it's just going to give us a warning to say this may potentially break your console, but it also will say that the app loader itself will install onto the health and safety information app instead of the SD card. To continue, just press A on install. Let it do its thing, and it will then ask you to turn off the Wii U. So once you boot up the Wii U again, you will actually be reverted back to stock firmware. So all of the apps that you installed will be missing. The payload will be installed onto our health and safety app now. So press A to open up the health and safety app, and this should load up the environment loader. So make sure Aroma has been highlighted, and then just press A to relaunch into the custom firmware. So it should relaunch and we'll back into the custom firmware. What we need to do now is make sure that auto boot into Aroma is selected. So we need to head back onto the Payload Loader Installer, press A on check, and this time what we need to do is, instead of choosing Install Update, we need to press down and go onto Boot Options. You'll see the option that says System is currently booting into the Wii menu, and we need to hit check on switch to payload loader. So what this will do is, instead of loading up onto stock firmware, this will automatically just boot up onto Aroma. If you already have Tiramisu, or if you still have old Hakchi Cold Boot installed, I recommend not doing this, just so you have the option to switch to Aroma using the health and safety app, or switch back to Tiramisu or Hakchi. So once that's done, it should just say boot title successfully updated. So now just press A to shut down the console. So now once you reboot it and turn it back on, it should just load up onto Aroma. You'll get the same warning again, but just press A to continue. And now your Wii U should officially be permanently hacked with Aroma custom firmware. So the next step is to just change a few of the configurations to protect the Wii from future updates and prevent it from breaking itself. The first thing that we need to do is go back onto your system settings. We need to remove the DNS settings that we set earlier and change it back to auto obtain. So choose internet and connect to the internet. Connections, and choose your default connection. Go to chain settings, go over to DNS, and then change the settings to auto obtain. Press B to save, and you can do a connection test if you want to. Once it's done, head back onto the menu, find the app that says UF Dyn, and it should look like the Wii U gamepad, and this app will block any updates and also get rid of that warning sign. Just hit A and it will just delete instantly. In the future, if Nintendo releases another update that's past 5.5.6 or 5.5.5 for the EU, you can actually recreate that update folder. But for now, we're good, we're up to date, we don't need to have this update folder and keep getting that warning. So just close the software and go back onto the Wii U menu. So the next thing that we're going to do, we are going to check if there's any Aroma updates. So locate the app where it says Aroma Updater. So this app is quite self-explanatory really, but highly necessary to update Aroma because this is still a work in process, and with future updates we'll be able to use more plugins and hopefully one day RetroArch support. So we definitely want to keep Aroma up to date. So all you have to do is click A to continue, and if you get an error like this basically is saying that my date and time is incorrect, so I need to go back onto the system menu and set it to the correct time and date. Once you've changed that, then just go back onto the Aroma Updater and this will load up and tell you what needs updating and what is up to date. So for me, my base Aroma has an update, so I'm going to update that. We can ignore the fw.image loader. So I've got base Aroma ticked off and I'm going to press plus to update this. It shouldn't take too long, but once it's done it will restart the Wii U. I did forget to mention that in Aroma Updater you can press RB and this will show you additional plugins and modules that you can install from this program itself. So I'm just going to mark a couple of these that I will definitely use, but you can also go onto the Homebrew store and get these plugins and more. So it's just going to fetch these plugins and download them for me and restart again. Back on the Wii menu now, and to access the plugin settings all you have to do is hold left bumper down on the D-pad and minus, and this will give you the option to change any settings for whichever plugins that you've downloaded. Next we are going to check out the Homebrew App Store, and this is where you get all your modifications and your plugins as well, some emulators and homebrew games that you can download, but the main thing that we want is the WUP GX2 installer, which gives you the ability to install content onto your Wii U. So when you scroll down to all apps, this basically shows you all the apps that's available for Hakchi, Tiramisu and Aroma. So a few of these will be outdated and not supported for Aroma. To make sure that we're getting the most out of Aroma, we need to go onto the Aroma Ready section. All of these apps are up to date and only available for Aroma custom firmware. So we need to install WUP Installer GX2. So once you click on it, this will give you a brief description of what this app is or plugin, and you can press Y to read more and A to download. Once that's installed, I'm going to download WUD. WUD is basically a Wii U disc dumper, so you can put any Wii U game into your console, it will read the disc and extract everything from the disc so you can install the game onto a hard drive or the internal memory so you don't have to use the disc. So I'm going to hit A to download and install this. I'm just going to check out what other apps and plugins there are before I exit the Homebrew app. So now that I've got those two apps installed, I'm just going to grab a game. The Super Mario Maker would do. This isn't a very big game, so this shouldn't take too long to read and dump all of the files onto the SD card. Insert the game into the Wii U, locate Wii U Disk Dumper. Once this loads, this will give you an option to choose Dumper's WUX, Dumper's WUD, or Dumper's Partition. So to be able to install the game digitally, we need to choose Dump Partition as .app. Make sure that is highlighted, and then where it says Dump Target, you want to make sure your SD card is selected. So this will fetch all the files from the disk and load it onto our SD card. Hit A to continue, and this will give you the option to choose the partition to dump, and we're going to highlight game. So as you can see here, it says Super Mario Maker. It's roughly about a gig in size, but this shouldn't take too long to grab all the files. If you have anything that's around 10 gigabytes or more, then it will probably take about an hour to fetch all the files. Hit A to continue and let it do its thing. Once it's finished, just hit A to continue and back out to the Wii U menu. Make sure to eject the disk. So now what we need to do is grab the files from the SD card. So take it out of your Wii U and insert it into your PC. Back onto the PC, you can see there's a new folder called Woo Dump. This is where our game file should be. So here is Super Mario Maker, and this just has some random letters for the folder name. Double click it again, and sometimes this will come up as the game's title, but in this case there's just a bunch of letters, but this is the game ID. But just open it up, and as you can see there's a lot of .app files. Some of them are larger than others, but this is all of the files for the game. So what we need to do is copy the entire folder, but just copy it from where it says the GM000 folder. So right click and cut the folder, and we want to copy this onto a new folder on the root of our SD card. So go back onto the root of it, right click and make a folder that's called install. Paste the game into the install folder. Our game should be ready to be installed onto a USB or the Wii U NAND. So we need to head back to the Wii U and load up WUP Installer GX2. So you need a USB stick to install the game, or a hard drive. You can also use a SSD as well. So for most hard drives, if it's a 2.5 laptop hard drive that doesn't have its own power source, then you will need to get a USB SATA Y splitter. They are pretty cheap, you can get them for a few bucks, a couple of quid. Solid state drives shouldn't need the Y splitter, as I think they don't need as much power as a HDD. Once you've selected your drive, you just need to put it into the USB slots at the back and format the hard drive to the Wii U format. Bear in mind, once you do this, you won't be able to use the hard drive on a PC because it wouldn't be able to read anything on the drive. But once back onto the Wii menu, just locate the WUP Installer GX2 and open it. It should load up, and if you've put the correct folders in the right place, then the games should just show up instantly. So I actually have two games now because I did install Bayonetta as well, which took a lot longer because it was like 14 gigabytes. But I'm going to install the Super Mario Maker. So if you have multiple games, you can select all of them and just install them all at once. So when you hit A, it will say where would you like to install. You can either install it on the NAND, which is the Wii U internal memory, or USB, which I'm using this 1TB 2.5 inch hard drive. Hit A to continue and just let it install. So once finished, just back out from the WUPS installer and go back onto the Wii U menu. Now you should see the icon for the game. So here's Super Mario Maker, and the first time I booted this up, it did actually ask me to update the software before I start the game, which I did. And as you can see, it's running Super Mario Maker and it's not giving me any errors. It's loaded up pretty fast as well. Aroma does seem very seamless compared to what I'm used to is Hakchi. So yeah, that's my guide to how to install Aroma custom firmware for your Wii U. If you do have any questions, then please comment down below and I'll try to reply to everyone. Please like and subscribe if this video has helped you, and I'll see you again on another Wii U tutorial.